Hello, Stu. How are you?
I am great, Glenn. It's great to have you back.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You missed me all kinds of ways.
I did. It's great to have you back. It seemed like you had a wonderful trip.
Oh, yeah. I have a different view on NATO now. I'm very clear on my stance of NATO.
Wait, this incredible vacation you had, you're back with a NATO take?
Yep. We should not be allies with the European Union, period. You know why? They don't understand ice. Germans drink their beer warm. What good is warm beer? I almost hugged the guy on the plane coming back yesterday when he said, would you like ice with that? I almost broke down in tears and said, yes, I want ice with that. They don't understand ice. Nobody uses ice in any of their sodas, their water, nothing. They give it to you warm and room temperature at best. Ice is not a complicated formula. I can show you how to make it, Europe. And quite honestly, if you don't get something as simple as ice, I don't think I am not sending my son or daughter over to fight a war for people who don't understand ice cubes. Sorry, not going to do it. Okay? Maybe that's why I'm not president, but maybe that's why I should be president. Anyway, there's a couple of other things that are going on that are far more important than, well, not in my opinion, but maybe in your opinion, far more important than the ice misunderstanding of Europe. And I'm going to get to the economy here in just a second, but I want to start here because this happened on Monday, and I have to get it out of my system. Ed Scarry just wrote a really great article about 2025's low talent Met Gala. And how much it's just like the Democratic Party. They're just these overinflated egos that are meaningless, that are just coming up with their own self-importance and coming up with causes that nobody cares about except them, and they just think they rule the world. And it's over. It's over for the Democratic Party. It's over for the people, like the Met Gala and everything else. And it couldn't happen to a group of nicer people. It really couldn't. He goes into what these people were wearing, and I think you guys talked about this yesterday. It's these people who have absolutely no talent. You don't know who they are, and they come on, and they've partnered with these designers, and they're wearing these stupid outfits, and they all have a message to them, and nobody cares, okay? But that's what the elite do. And so I know Stu and Pat talked about this yesterday on the program, but I just have to get this out of my system because my wife wouldn't listen to me. Okay, we went over to Turin to see the Shroud of Turin, but we spent a few days in Milan, and Milan is, the fashion capital of the world. And as we're walking down the street and we're going to see the Leonardo da Vinci Last Supper and everything else, we pass not one, but like 1,000 Chanel stores. Okay, and every time my wife would look at me and go, "Please don't start. Please, can we just shh? We're on vacation." Because every time I'd walk by Chanel store, I'd go, "Oh, there's the store of Coco Chanel, the world's most fabulous Nazi." And
gee, I can't understand why she was upset about this.
No, she loved it. Okay. And, you should have heard me when there was a Coco Chanel store next to a Hugo Boss store, which God. Hugo Boss was responsible for the SS uniforms. But anyway, enough about both Nazis. Let me just concentrate on Coco Chanel for a second. And there's a reason for this, and you're going to enjoy it. So, Coco Chanel, she is, of course, from Chanel number 5. She's the woman with the little black dress. Oh, Coco Chanel. Oh, she's just great as ever. She's a Nazi. Okay, when the Germans came in,
you don't mean that in like the soup Nazi way. You mean that in the actual Nazi way.
Yeah,
okay.
the Zig Heil. If she would have been photographed, she wasn't waving. That was an actual Nazi salute. Okay, and she closes down Chanel when the Nazis take over, and she closes the fashion house down. And all of the fashion houses shut down during the war because they're like, we're not going to make, nobody has any money for really expensive clothing, and we're not going to make them for the Nazis. not Coco Chanel. She literally moved into the hotel where all the Nazi brass lived, okay? And she's having sex with them, and she's making all kinds of dresses for their wives and everything else. She's like in with the Nazis. It gets so bad that she realizes, wait a minute, I can make even more money on this, because Chanel number 5, if you know anybody who wears that, make sure you let them know what Chanel number 5 is. And by the way, every time somebody tried to give me orange juice and it was Fanta, by the way, is Coca-Cola's answer to the United States banning Coca-Cola in Nazi Germany. And so Coca-Cola called all of the Nazi scientists over in Germany and said, tell me what chemicals you do have. What flavors do you have? We'll come up with something that will replace Coca-Cola so we can keep our stores open. And they came up with Fanta Orange. Okay, so that's another Nazi thing. But I digress. So,
wow, I really want to go on a vacation with you sometime.
Oh, no,
it's got to be a lot of fun.
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah.
So she's she comes up with Chanel number 5, but she needed somebody to pay for it, because she was poor, and so she needed somebody, and so there was this rich Jewish family in France. And they had the money, and so they backed it. And I don't remember what the deal was, but it was like a 50-50 partnership. We'll do the money, you provide the cologne, you provide the scent and everything else. We'll call it Chanel number 5. It was all fine until the Nazis came in power, and then she was like, Adolf, I know this family. They're Jewish, and they got a lot of money and a lot of power, and you should just cancel their contracts because they shouldn't own anything. And so she tries to get the people, the family that she was partners with on Chanel number 5. She tried to get them rounded up and take away their percentage of Chanel number 5 just because she could. Okay? Horrible, horrible human being. So when the war is over, the Allies march in, and all of the French people are like, okay, let's see who collaborated with the Nazis. Oh, where's Coco? Where's Coco Chanel? Because I think maybe we should have her a trial in the streets. No, she escaped to Switzerland, where she lived in Switzerland till 1954, 1956, something like that. But the point of all of this is to bring it back to the Met Gala. How did Coco Chanel become Coco Chanel? I mean, Chanel number 5, that Jewish funded perfume. How did this Nazi collaborator become the big deal in Paris, France, and a global name for the little black dress? You know how? Vogue magazine in New York City, not Paris. The Vogue in Paris, they didn't want to do anything because she was a Nazi collaborator. But the people at Vogue magazine in New York were like, Coco, I mean, your little black dress. I mean, why don't we just make everybody forget about the Nazi collaboration that you did? So they whitewashed her. So it was Vogue magazine that whitewashed and saved a horrible Nazi. Why? What does this have to do with the Met Gala? Oh, that's Vogue magazine is the one that in 1948 started the Met Gala right after the war. So congratulations, all of you lefties that are just celebrating truth and freedom. Oh, because you guys know what it is. You really do. You really do. And all of you celebrities that, are extolling Chanel. I mean, I think my wife might have a Chanel purse, or I don't know. I'm not saying that the people currently are Nazis, but I am saying the people at the Met Gala and the people at Vogue magazine should at least admit it. Don't lecture me about what a Nazi is. Because you know them intimately. Okay, now that I have that off my chest.
The ice part sounds terrible this vacation, but I will say walking around and you just ranting at storefronts actually sounds awesome.
Oh my God.
I would have liked that vacation.
So we were with some people because we were doing a video of, for the Shroud of Turin. And these guys who are videographers over in Europe, they're just following me around and I'm just ranting. And they're like, there's a show in you on the streets. I'm like, oh, yeah, I've got a lot to say. All right, back in just a second. First, let me tell you about the Berna launcher. Every now and then, I find myself getting ready in the morning, staring at the mirror thinking, man, you're a handsome man. Doesn't happen often, but, you know what really complete this outfit, this ensemble? I don't know, some non-lethal weapon that I could carry anywhere in the world. And, it looks good on members of SEAL Team 6. Theirs is lethal. Of course, their hands are lethal as well. I'm not that kind of guy. Anyway, you can reach now for Berna's new compact launcher. It is smaller than most phones. It weighs next to nothing. I mean, it does look a little like the James Bond gun. I'm just saying, okay? And you have in your hands something that solves situations that you don't have to worry about. Police, help, police. No, pull out your Berna launcher, poof, hit them with tear gas, and they're there on the ground until the police show up. It's kind of nice. It's a good thing I didn't carry one, especially when I was traveling with American Airlines. But that's a different story, maybe for a different show. Berna, BYRNA.com/Glenn, Berna.com. Learn more today. Find the Berna dealer partner near you and try it out for yourself. It's Berna, BYRNA.com/Glenn. 10 seconds, station ID.
As you're telling the story about Chanel, which I did not know, by the way, I guess it's some of this information is relatively recent, like over the past 10 years or so that has come out.
No.
Some of it is like the spy stuff you mentioned, which came out in a book. But the part where you're talking about the Chanel No. 5 and her trying to get the rights back from the Jewish family.
Yeah.
So she uses her role to petition. She's an Aryan. She goes to the Germans and says, hey, they can't own anything, so I should really have it. And the quote is great. I have an indisputable right of priority. The profits that I have received from my creation since the foundation of this business are disproportionate, and you can help to repair in part the prejudices I have suffered in the course of these 17 years. So she's going to the Nazis saying, I'm the victim of prejudice from the Jews. Gee, that's quite a stance. That's a stance.
Mm-hmm. One of the reasons why she wasn't hung in the streets is because somehow or another this Jewish family forgave her. And so they were like, just leave our royalties alone. And we'll
let it go.
We'll let it go.
Because they actually sort of outsmarted her, too. Without her knowing, they apparently had given their ownership rights, knowing the Nazis were coming, given their ownership rights to a family that was not Jewish. Mm-hmm. So they were able to protect it through the war and then get it back after.
Yeah. The negotiations were a little tense. After the war. They were a little tense.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, just to show you that the left still hasn't changed, this year's winners for the Pulitzer Prize, a reconsideration of Huckleberry Finn from a slave's perspective. Now, have you ever read Huckleberry Finn? I'm not so sure anyone is reading that today and going, that sounds great.
No.
That sounds like a great kind of America. You know what I mean? I don't think we need first of all, because of what this country has done in dumbing down our children, no child reads Mark Twain, even if it was good without any slave stuff in it. Okay, nobody's reading Mark Twain anymore. Thank you, leftists. Okay, so a reconsideration of Huckleberry Finn, and everybody's been clamoring for it, quite honestly. Also winning a Pulitzer Prize is the Palestinian poet who wants everyone to stop talking about Hamas. And, it would help it would help the Palestinian cause if no one mentioned Hamas. It might be helpful, but it wouldn't be accurate. It wouldn't be truthful, but who cares? It's the Pulitzer people. And one last Pulitzer Prize, and gee, I'm waiting for mine. A new musical, which is a call to action on climate change. So I think when you go to the store and you see anything that says Pulitzer Prize winning, you can know it means crap. They're probably trying to whitewash some Nazi at some point. If they're not doing it now, they probably did it in the past at some point. I don't know, but gosh, that seems like an interesting thing to look up today in my spare time. Let's look for the connections to the Nobel Peace Prize, or the Pulitzer Prize, people, and the Nazis. Bet we find a connection. But I digress. Now, would you like to hear about India and Pakistan? So, India and Pakistan, two nuclear powers, currently engaging in a military conflict. Now, what could possibly go wrong there? India has fired multiple missiles into Pakistan, and the Pakistanis are calling it an act of war. The reason why they were firing missiles into Pakistan is it was a response on a terror attack on Indian territory by a terror group that has ties to Pakistan's intelligence service. Okay, some people call this group that did this terror thing on India a Pakistani proxy for their government. Okay. It's kind of like USAID. Okay. So Pakistan denies all of this, of course, but they're not denying any of the connections to the Taliban. And, this is where, we get the whole, where's Osama bin Laden? Oh, he's right there in Pakistan next to the military base. Okay. Now nuclear powers are shooting missiles at one another, and India suddenly looks like it's a less stable spot. Now, listen carefully. See if you can connect the dots on this. I haven't heard anybody connect the dots on this one yet. Now, India is looking like a less stable place for companies, American, moving from China, like Apple, to India. Now, what do you suppose the odds are that this whole terrorist attack, which happened coincidentally on a very important date with the whole trade issues, we'll get into that a little later, what do you suppose the chances are? Wow, what a wild conspiracy. That maybe this whole thing is possibly egged on a bit by China.
This is Glenn Beck.
Okay, so most people just accept pain. They say, well, that's life, and start building a small pharmacy in their bathroom cabinet. Row after row of half-used bottles with names that no one can pronounce, and the side effect is worse than the pain they started with. Been there, done that. Here's a wild idea. What if there was a way to fight pain that doesn't involve chemistry experiments on our own body? Yes, better living through Dow Pharmaceuticals. Not necessarily a good idea. Relief Factor is a simple daily supplement developed by doctors to help your body fight inflammation naturally, which is one of the biggest causes of pain to begin with. And when inflammation starts to go, so does the pain. That's why so many people, the people who have tried everything else, end up sticking with Relief Factor. If you're living with the aches and pains, see how Relief Factor, a daily drug-free supplement, might help you live better every single day. Give their 3-month quick start a try for only $19.95. Try it for a couple of weeks and see if there's a difference from you. 70% of the people who order it go on to order more every single month. Don't get stuck with pain. Go to relieffactor.com or call 800-4-RELIEF. 800-4-RELIEF. Relieffactor.com. Make sure that you get everything you need to know on my daily newsletter. You can subscribe right now. Just go to glennbeck.com. That's glennbeck.com. All right, welcome to the program. All right, so I want to talk to you a little bit about, first of all, the American economy. There are some good things and bad things going on. First of all, the GOP, they're not really sure that they're going to go with all of the Doge cuts. Not really sure. I mean, should we do all of them? No, we've got plenty of money. Just keep wasting all of our money. It's totally fine. Now, in China, some good news. China, the chaos on the streets of China is getting really bad. The workers are starting to revolt because they're being laid off because we're not buying any of their stuff. Mercedes-Benz just shut down one of their big factories in China. We're talking about moving, except we can't move to India now. Boy, that suddenly got unstable. But Apple and others were saying they were going to move to India. And it's not going well. And people you got to love the Chinese protests. This is how bad, things are bad when your union march, when your slogan is pay us or we'll commit suicide. That's how bad it is. Now, they haven't been paid. Some of these workers haven't been paid in 4 months. That's not Trump's policies there, gang. That's China collapsing. So the Trump is now going to be meeting with China. All of a sudden, China's like, well, you know what? We could meet. I mean, there's no problem at least talking. That is a sign things are working. Do not blink. Don't blink. This guy is a tough negotiator, and they are in real trouble. So there's some good news on that. And I'm going to get into that here just a little bit in a minute. But there's one thing that really kind of bothers me. James Carville has come out recently and said, on tariffs, I have a 6 item of clothes: shoes, socks, jeans, skivvies, T-shirt, and sweatshirt. You know how many of these were made in America? None. And I don't want to live in a country that makes T-shirts. I can buy them from someplace else. That's a little elitist, maybe a touch elitist. Do you have a problem if our country makes T-shirts?
No, some great companies we've talked about. American Giant.
Right, American Giant.
It's a great company that makes T-shirts here. Thank God they do.
Great T-shirts.
Yeah.
Great T-shirts. Mm-hmm. Okay, so James Carville trying to tell us what the American dream is, and the American dream doesn't involve factories in America making anything like underpants. Okay. Then Mike Tyson might have a better view on this than Mike Pence. Mike Pence, he says this. Listen.
He said that cheap goods was not a part of the American dream. Well, I'm somebody who spent almost my entire life in public service. We lived on our paycheck while we raised 3 kids and put 3 kids through college. Cheap goods are a big part of it. I think we ought to be candid about that.
Okay. Cheap goods. Now, are cheap goods important? You bet. You bet. Are they part of your family planning? Sure it is. Do you want to pay more for goods? No, not really. Not really. Are they part of the American dream? No, I don't think they are.
Certainly a weird way to phrase it. I mean, obviously, one of the reasons Donald Trump is currently president is because prices went up on a lot of stuff.
Correct.
Right? During the Biden administration.
Correct.
So, yeah, sure, it's important.
Okay. So, but it's not the American dream. And then Donald Trump, I'm going to take the president on. Donald Trump came out and said, our kids don't need 20 dolls. They could maybe have 3. I don't know how many the number was. I don't want the president telling me how many dolls my kids can have. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I understand it. We don't need to have everything that we have, but let's not take the position of scarcity in America. That's a little too much like Jimmy Carter saying, you know what, turn down the heat and wear a sweater. No, drill, baby, drill. That was the answer. We're not a country that should be focused on scarcity. You know where that happens? Everywhere else in the world. It shouldn't be happening here. Now, do we have an out-of-control consumption problem? I don't know about you, but I do. You're
not alone on that one.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, do we consume like big fat Americans? Yes. And I will tell you, I can't tell you how many times my wife shushed me when we were in a museum, standing in front of Leonardo's Last Supper. And being from Texas, I did have to just say under my breath, maybe a little too loud, come on now, everything has a price. How much? How much for that painting up there on that wall? So you know, I get it. But let me explain what the American dream really is. It's not the caricature of 2 cars and a picket fence and a bank account bursting at the seams. It's not about business success. It is about what makes that heart beat, and that is opportunity. The chance to be you. Oh, so you're for transgender? I don't really care. I really don't force me to say, dude, you're a lovely woman. Okay? But you be you, boo. I'll be me. I'm going to stick to science and well-known facts, but you chart your own course. You live your life without having to kneel at the altar of anyone. A state, a lord, a king, any self-appointed arbiter of your destiny. That's what the American dream is all about. And it's what makes America different than every other part of the world. It is about empowering people. The American dream is a radical idea that you don't need permission to exist. You don't need permission to be you. You don't need permission to pursue the things you believe in. Do you know it was Stuart Chase that wrote his book, The American something or other? I don't remember. But he wrote this book. I think it was Stuart Chase. He wrote this book. No, I don't remember. But he wrote a book, and in it, he defined the American dream as being a house with a chicken in every pot and a car in the garage and everything else. That happened during the FDR administration. Before that, everybody knew what the American dream was. Now we have made it into guaranteed outcomes. Government handing you success on a platter, even if you fail. And more importantly, if you fail, you get the win. And if you succeeded, they try to take that win from you and give it to somebody else. The American dream is about the absence of chains and legal and cultural and bureaucratic chains that bind you to somebody else's vision of your life. In most of the world, historically, and even today, your path is dictated by your birth, your class, the whims of the ruling elite. Go ahead, try to open up an ice store in Europe. Okay, I don't know, because they're European, I don't know if they're smart enough to understand what the value, the great value on the quality of your life ice will bring to every cup of whatever it is you're drinking. But I bet you would have a hard time opening up an ice store because you have all these regulations. In America, at our core, the promise is you rise or fall on your own terms, your own sweat, your own ingenuity, your grit, your ethics. Now, that wasn't just different. That was revolutionary. It's still revolutionary. This is why we are so different from the rest of the world. And it started with our founding, the Declaration of Independence. It didn't just thumb its nose at the king and say, we got a better king over here. It flipped the entire script of human governance, saying, we don't have a king. We rule ourselves. We find these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights. That wasn't a suggestion. That was a Molotov cocktail thrown into every human institution that had ever ruled over man. The divine right to control another person's life. So we say that in the Declaration. Then we have the Constitution. And then we double down with the Bill of Rights. And we say, by the way, government can never, ever, ever do these things. Now we've got judges who are like, well, maybe occasionally government can do these. No, never. Inalienable, meaning unchanging, no man, nothing can change the rights that you were given from a divine creator. And the difference between us is good because it unleashes the human spirit, where everything else chains the human spirit. When you're free to succeed or fail without a Lord's approval or the state's micromanagement, you are forced to confront who you are and what you're capable of. That's the point. That's not always comfortable, but it's always empowering. A lot of people will cower away from that. I don't want to. They think that there's nothing inside. That's all a lie. That's all a lie. Started much of it with the father of propaganda, Edward Bernays. He was a guy who was a good friend of Woodrow Wilson. Also helped start CBS and advertising and everything else. They were a good bunch of people there. Oh, they were all eugenicists too. But this guy said, we have to make America, his quote, the problem with America is it's a nation of needs. We need it to be a nation of wants. Well, that's what we are now. We're a nation of wants. We don't even understand. We think our wants are needs, and they're not. We have to become a nation of needs again, and knowing the difference between need and want. You can have whatever you want, but it's want, not need. And this has been realized, and it's why the immigrant cobbler came over to make apple cobbler or whatever, shoes to, the kid out of nowhere that just has come up with the next big app. You don't need a title or a pedigree. You don't need anything. You need your own dreams, your own ideas, your own ingenuity, and your own grit to pursue it. Your path all over the world is shaped by someone else, shaped by who your parents were, what caste or what clan you were born into, who you'll curry favor with in the local or national bureaucracy. That's a bastardization of this is what the Democrats say they're against, but it's absolutely what they're for. And quite frankly, much of the Republican Party is for it as well. Freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom of enterprise. It's called now a privilege. It's not. It's a right, your birthright, not because of your last name, but because you are human. And that's why the world changed once America was founded. That's why we led everywhere. And that's why we're faltering now, because we no longer understand that. The American dream isn't about stuff. It's about space to think, speak, create, to fail without somebody else's boot on your neck. And our politicians, our pundits, our cultural gatekeepers have redefined it as material wealth or cheap goods or whatever it is. That's a trap. You have no guarantee in life. There is no guarantee. Life is not fair. If I hear one of my children say to me one more time, Dad, you just don't know what it's like. Oh, please. I didn't grow up with the opportunities you have. So please don't cry me a river for the life I've created for you. Don't do it. America doesn't care who you are or where you came from. Justice is blind. Success and failure should be blind. That is the American dream. That's why America is a beacon, has always been a beacon, not just for Americans, but for anyone else who's ever wanted to live without permission, who will follow the law and the rules and come here the right way. Those people, no matter your creed, color, no matter who you are, no matter who your family is, America promises you the possibility of success and no one over you putting a boot on your neck. That's the American dream that must be heralded and restored. Let me tell you about LifeLock. You ever get an email that says, hello, I'm a Nigerian prince and I need your help. And you think, well, that's ridiculous. Who would fall for that? And then you check your bank account and realize somebody just opened a credit card in your name. Turns out criminals no longer need to convince you that you're a Nigerian prince. They just need a few pieces of your information, an old password, a data breach that you've never even heard about. Boom, you're in a world of fraud. That's why I use, and you should use, LifeLock. They monitor all the things you can't see, the dark web, identity threats, suspicious activity, the things that will just sneak right past you because you don't know what you're looking for. Make sure the bad guys have their work that is a lot harder, and their work and their success is a lot less. Protect yourself with LifeLock. Join now. Save up to 40% off your first year with promo code Beck. 1-800-LifeLock. 1-800-LifeLock. LifeLock.com. Use the promo code Beck. Get 40% off now. LifeLock.com.
There you have it. The truth, stripped down like a fence post in a prairie storm. Glenn Beck returns after this.
Well, it's been a lot of talk when it comes to weight loss about, getting shots and everything. And one thing you might not have heard of is another option here. It's called Lean, and a lot of customers are raving about it. Patty S. said, I finally found a weight loss product that works. I wanted to lose 20 pounds, and Lean really curbs my appetite. Lori M. wrote, I've struggled to get the weight off, and Lean has been a lifesaver. I've been losing a couple pounds a week or more. Kelly F. said, amazing. I immediately noticed an energy boost and healthy weight loss. I would recommend this product to anyone. Lean was created by a doctor and a university researcher to target the same goals that they're going after with the GLP-1s, but without the injections. Lean's well-studied natural ingredients target weight loss in 3 powerful ways. First, it helps you maintain your healthy blood sugar levels. Second, it helps to control your appetite and cravings. And third, it helps to burn fat by converting that fat into energy. If you're struggling to lose weight and you're finding that diet and exercise just aren't doing enough, you should give Lean a try and see if it's for you. This could be a ticket to a brand new you. You can get started right now with 20% off if you use the code BLAZE20 right now at takelean.com. It's takelean.com. The code is BLAZE20 at takelean.com. Weight loss is something you want to make sure you understand and you do the right thing. Do your own homework on this. Make sure you understand it. TakeLean.com. The code is BLAZE20.
Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. So people following us on the feed today, Tanya said, yes, warm drinks are the only way I drink stuff, Glenn. Yes, even beer. Dee said, I had the same experience overseas. I am so grateful for ice. Funny the things you miss. Susie, wow, this is what happens when Glenn can't vent for a week. Prue, Glenn's in great form today. Mary, I don't know, I'll never be able to see Pence without seeing a black fly on his head. Corbin, I agree with Glenn. We don't need Trump telling us what we cannot have. That's Barack Obama's mentality. Exactly right. Join us. Join the family. Everything that you need available at glennbeck.com. Go to glennbeck.com.
This is Glenn Beck.